This is the last day that I'm going to be a slave to watering my urban sustainable living garden. When we put together a drip irrigation system, we have to start at our spigot. I've got my manifold already hooked up, got my timer first, of course, then I've got my filter, and you really need a filter because you want to make sure that there are no impurities in the water. There's a stainless steel filter inside that basically screens out any little particles that might get into your drip irrigation system and clog it up, and we don't want that to happen. Then I've got my regulator here, and that's going to give me 30 pounds per square inch of pressure. Then I have my Easy Lock fitting. My Easy Lock fitting is where I connect my main line tube to it. And the great thing about this system is that you really don't need any tools. All you have to do is make sure that when you're screwing anything on, it's pretty much hand tight. All right, all I have to do is make sure as I get it in here that it goes over the whole nipple here. Screw the collar on and just hand tighten it. All right, that is in. I want to bring my main line tube around this corner, so I'm gonna have to put an elbow in. And I am attaching my main line tube with some zip ties here. All right, I've almost got this main line to my garden. So I've run my mainline tubing into my urban sustainable living garden. I've secured them neatly with some zip ties to my electrical conduit here. And then I've put some elbows in just to make it nice and neat and bring it to my raised beds here. Now I'm gonna take this mainline tubing and run it all the way down my raised beds. Then I'm just gonna be able to attach my drip line connectors wherever I want them in my raised beds. I'm gonna attach the 1/2 inch main line to the top of my raised beds here using one of these clamps. And now I'm just gonna repeat the process and attach it to this line of my raised beds. I have finished securing my main line tubing, and now all I have to do is put my Easy Lock end cap on. All right, now on to the next step. All right, I've installed my main line tubing in my urban sustainable living garden, and now it's time to install the soaker drip line. So the first thing I need to do is I need to put a hole in my main line. Now we've got some goof plugs, so in case I do make a mistake, I've got these goof plugs that I can pop in and no one will ever know. I'm using the Miracle Punch here. It's really easy to use. Now I've got my 1/4 inch tubing here. It's solid, there are no holes in it. And I've got my transfer barb. Now I've got to get these two together. So I've got a punch insert tool, and that's gonna just make it so much easier because there are a lot of them to do in this garden. So I just take the transfer barb, put it in there, then just line up the 1/4 inch tube, and voila. Makes me feel so much stronger than I really am. So I've got this. All right, on the other end of my tubing, I am going to get a VariFlow valve. Now this basically allows me to turn it on and off anywhere in my garden, depending on what I have growing. So let's say I've already harvested everything, then I can just turn this section off and not have to waste water, money, all that stuff. To my VariFlow valve, I'm gonna connect my soaker drip line. I am using 9-inch soaker drip line, which means there are emitters every 9 inches. You can get them in multiple sizes, 6, 9, or 12-inch spacing for those emitters, depending on what you're growing. All right, that's perfect. Now I am gonna take all of this together and pop it into my main line. All right, you wanna push it in until you hear that pop noise. Now, before I lay out my 9-inch soaker drip line, I'm gonna attach an end plug to it. And again, I've just got my punch insert tool. And now I am going to lay it out. Got these U-shaped hole downs, and I'm just inserting them at an angle to keep my soaker drip line in place. All right, these U-shaped hole downs, you wanna pop them in basically every 3 feet or so. I'm here by my 4x4 raised bed, and I've already laid out my 1/4-inch tubing around the inside of the bed, because I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. I have a VariJet sprayer that I'm gonna use in this bed. I'm gonna use 4 of them actually. So I have my valve stake, and to that I've attached my Half Moon VariJet sprayer. It's gonna give me a nice even half moon spray from wherever I put it. So the first one is just gonna be staked right in here. And the great thing about these is that, of course, it's got a valve. You can turn it on and off, and it also has a valve so you can control the spray. All right, I've just got a little piece, about 1 inch or so, piece of 1/4-inch tubing, and I'm gonna just push that on top. You can screw it in, you can push it in, it's pretty simple. Then I am going to attach the Half Moon VariJet sprayer, and I am done. All right, I've got this one in. All right, now I'm connecting my sprayers. So I've got my 1/4-inch T here, and I'm taking my tubing and just popping it in. So I've got the T in place, and I've just got a 2-inch piece of tubing that I'm gonna attach. All right, so I have my 2-inch piece of tubing in. Just gonna connect, and voila, my sprayer is connected, and it's gonna be great because it's gonna give me a half circle of spray in this bed. And where I've laid each one out, they're all going to slightly overlap each other, and it's gonna give a nice even watering to my 4x4 raised bed. All right, I'm done with my 4x4 raised bed, and now I can stop watering my garden. I've finished setting up my drip irrigation system in my urban sustainable living garden. And for under $200, my plants are gonna get the right amount of water at the right time. This system costs under $200, so if you wanna purchase your own, go to dripworks.com. I'm Patty Moreno, the Garden Girl. Thanks for watching.